Not great, Bob.
It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Hey.
From the gun to the touchdown.
This is BS Sports.
And welcome aboard. Welcome in on a somber Tuesday evening for basically all things Michigan sports, unless you're a U of M fan, in which case you won a basketball game. Can't say that about any of my other teams. We'll get into it. Rough week, though, but we got a lot to talk about. We got a big show. The offseason in the MLB, it's getting a little spicy. We'll talk about that. Shohei Ohtani signing a quadrillion-dollar deal with the Dodgers. We got NHL stuff I want to briefly talk about. We got the Pistons. Will they win a game? That's the question of the day. We got MSU basketball that I got to break down very briefly. We got to have a heart-to-heart moment about Michigan State basketball and what the step is to move forward. And, of course, we got to talk about the NFL this week and Heisman, college, Jayden Daniels stuff. It's a good show. First things first, we got to start with the Lions, and I go to the question that I posed in the title of this show. And I know if you're watching this on the clip, I don't know if I'm going to clip this one out. I probably will end up clipping this one out. But if you're watching this on the clip, I don't know if the title of the video is going to be the same. If you go to the actual title of the show, is it panic in Lionstown? Is it time to panic? And look, the way they looked in that game, if that is how they're going to play basically for the rest of the season, absolutely. Now, do I think they're going to play, shut out in the second half for the rest of the season? Probably not. And hopefully, if they do, they have really good first halves, because you're not going to win a lot of games if you don't score a point for 2 out of the 4 quarters. Just not going to do it. And I will say this. That was, and I was talking about that on the live reaction. You can go back and watch that if you are a masochist. That was, without a doubt, the single worst game that they played all season. I'd say it was worse than the Ravens game. For this reason and this reason alone, they had that game within winning distance, okay? Let me break down something for you. I just was taking a look just before the show of the possessions going into that game, okay? Or going into the second half of that game. They're up 13-10, right? First possession, 3 plays, punt. Next possession, the Bears get a field goal, tie game. Your next possession, 3 plays, punt. Their next possession, 3 plays, punt. Your next possession, 3 plays, punt. Bears touchdown. The following possession, 2 plays, fumble. Bears possession, touchdown. Your next possession, 4 plays. Bears next possession, field goal. Your next possession, 11 plays, downs. Their next possession, 3 plays, fumble. Your next possession, 5 plays, interception, and the game was over at that point. When I think of good offenses, that is not the kind of performance that I expect. The offense had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 different opportunities to march down the field and score a touchdown or kick a field goal. Whatever it was, they had a chance. And keep in mind, they were playing with a lead going into that game. I don't know what in the heck goes on in our third quarters as far as play calling or as far as guys being ready, but we need to do whatever it is we're doing. We need to do the exact opposite, because clearly it hasn't worked all year. How many times was it 3 and outs? 1, 2, 3, basically 4 or 5 even. 5, because you had the turnover on downs the following possession after the fumble. So you went 5 possessions without getting a first down. 5 possessions. Like, not only is it bad when you're not scoring, But when you're not eating away at the clock, when you're not taking the football away from the Bears and forcing your defense to have to make plays, who actually, in a weird way, was playing pretty good for the most part. They gave up at most 10 points a quarter, which, again, not ideal, not great. But, like, you certainly should be able to score, 14, not every quarter, but you should be able to net more points than if they're giving up just 10. Like, they were forcing the Bears to kick more field goals as that game was going up until, the crazy 4th and a million touchdown pass, and then obviously the fumble that led to a touchdown. But I'm not going to hold the defense accountable, or I'm not going to hold the fumble touchdown against them, because I mean, what are you going to do? You give the other team the ball at your own 20. I mean, please, it's like you can run 3 plays and you get a touchdown, and they actually ran 5. So you gave them more plays actually in that regard. But like, this offense has the potential, and unfortunately, it seems like Jared Goff does not want to get paid. It's like this guy has had money on the table. You were 9-2 going into Thanksgiving. You had a chance to not just have a better record than you've had in 60 years. You've already done that. You had a chance to have a better record than potentially we've had in 70, 80. Potentially, I don't even know if we could get into the hundreds. If you would have beaten the Packers, who are not as good as I think their record might indicate, and you had a chance again to beat the Bears, and it's like you showed up without, you forgot what sport you were playing. Like, it's to me, it's one thing to lose a game like you did at Baltimore, where the game was over at the end of the first quarter, where the Baltimore was up 100 to nothing, right? And you're just like, you know what? Okay, fine. What are you going to do? Like, you're going to lay an egg. It's going to happen in the NFL. Everybody lays an egg. Shout out Green Bay on Monday night. But you can't. You go into the half with a lead. That, to me, is egregious. And let alone not scoring. Like, it was an awful performance. And to focus a little bit more on Jared Goff, okay? Like, the way that he's playing at this point, if or unless we both win this division, win a home playoff game / go on a playoff run, there is no reason that I'm extending him for anything. Like, first of all, we still have him signed until next year. So there's no reason I'm going to extend him this offseason. But if he continues to play at the way that he's playing right now, which is we're skidding by on mediocre quarterback play, there's no reason for me to pay him. And I'm not going to get on the Hendon Hooker is the future, because I don't know if Hendon Hooker is the future. But clearly, Brad Holmes had some level of confidence in Hendon Hooker at least being a good backup. But I mean, like, it's the turning the ball over. It's the fumbles. It's not being able to move down the field. It's not being on the same page with your wide receivers, where balls are, overthrown or thrown in the wrong direction, or they're thrown too hard and receivers aren't catching them. I don't know if that's on him or if it's on the receivers. I'm just telling you, you're not hitting your receivers when otherwise you were hitting your receivers earlier in the season. And, like, you just can't do it. Like, right now, we have a 4-game stretch where truly, and this is not just me being, slappy Lions fan, truly I think we can win 3 out of these 4. The Broncos is a tough game, but you have them at home. And, I mean, I haven't had experience of having a coach against his old coach, and usually it goes well for the new guy. Usually. Not necessarily always. I mean, I'm pretty sure didn't the Dolphins play the 49ers, I want to say last year, and it did not go well? It might have, I don't remember if that was last year or this year, but it can go well. Especially, I think it very well could go well on Saturday. I mean, Vegas has us as 5-point favorites. But, like, you could certainly beat the Vikings, because I don't know if the Vikings know how to get a touchdown. And Josh Dobbs is clearly not him, as they say in the streets. And you got to play the Vikings twice. Cowboys, if you win that game, we're right back on the train. We're right back on it. And I would be the happiest person in the universe if you could win that game. I doubt you're going to win that game. This right here, Mr. X. This right here. Third quarter is going to hurt our team in the playoffs. Absolutely. And that's what's horrifying is, you can get away in a sense with having a bad third quarter against the Saints or the Panthers or the Bears, right? You can get away with it. But when you're in the playoffs and your season is on the line, teams are feeling extra feisty. Teams are more willing to go for it. They're more willing to take risks, especially if you're playing a wild card team. Assuming you win the division, you'll still host the game, but you might still play wild card weekend, obviously, depending on your seeding. Right now, sitting at the 3 seed, I believe that means we would play a wild card game because I think it's just the top 2. I want to say the top 2 because there's 7 teams. All the teams other than the 1 seed. Never mind. I'm math. It's hard, but I don't know who we would play right now. I guess I can look up playoff picture, NFL playoff picture. Let's take a look. Official NFL website. So, this is not exactly what I wanted. I want to see who plays who. Oh, the Patriots got eliminated. I didn't even realize that. Well, old Billy Belichick. I posted this is shout out to past me. I posted the video way back before the beginning of the season about Bill Belichick when they signed Ezekiel Elliott. If this was the beginning of the end, and I think we might be there. We'll just leave it at that. I want to see the actual matchups. Playoff matchups 2023. Okay. Fox Sports. Do we have it? Okay. So right now, the Lions sit at the 3 seed. They would play the Vikings. So here's the thing. The reason I wouldn't be too happy about that. It's not easy to play a divisional opponent. It's also not easy to beat them potentially 3 times. Now, the thing is, I don't know if the Vikings are going to end up finishing that way, especially if they lose to us both times. I think they definitely won't be in the playoffs at that point. So, again, assuming we sweep the Vikings, which, I don't know. Apparently we can't sweep any divisional opponent. Wouldn't it be ironic if the Vikings do get swept by us? Because then it would be a flip of last year where we swept the NFC North except the Vikings. Interesting. But the other seeds that we have right now, so Green Bay sitting at the 7th seed with a 6-7 record. Again, depending on how they finish. And honestly, look, the Bears, I don't think that's a terrible team on offense. I think on defense, pick your poison. But hey, the way they played against us, you might as well. And I don't really know how legit their coach is. But to be fair to them, they've looked a lot better. And this is no slander against the Lions. They've looked a lot better. And they managed to win games, especially getting turnovers. They were getting turnovers against the Vikings too. Let's not forget. And the Packers still got to play the Bears. So you still have them to play for Green Bay. I think the Rams, that's another one that we could potentially play. The other seeds we have are the Vikings, the Eagles at 10-3, which is wild to me that the Eagles could potentially end up as the 5th seed. I'm not one to get rid of divisions and all that. I know some people are big fans of it. I'm not a big fan of it because I like old school. I'm an old man at heart. I like the tradition. I like the divisions. It makes things more interesting as far as the playoff pictures because you get teams that maybe shouldn't technically be in there, but you know what? They're in there, and we'll see what happens. It's crazy things happen. But you got the Buccaneers at the 4th seed. The thing is, though, Here's the thing. The Lions, if they play and beat the Vikings, let's see, who would they then play? I guess I don't know. You'd have to figure out the matchups at that point. It'd be wild to me. Having the 3 seed means at least or at most you could have 2. Well, I guess at most you could have as many home games as possible. Assuming you don't, because actually, I don't know where we would line up if we would play the Niners. But I guess if the Niners lose and the Cowboys lose before we play them again, I don't know. I don't know how this thing's working out. But look, I don't want to get too caught in the weeds there, talking about the playoffs. Yeah, so that was fun. That was fun talking about this game. Let's see. Let's break down the rest of the NFL week, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff. Honestly, happy to see the 49ers the first seed right now because I don't want to play them in divisional round if we make it. I'm going to go ahead and show this to the people. I would rather play Philly or Dallas away than play the 49ers. I will agree with some of that. I would rather play Dallas away. Or I don't know. I don't know that I really want to play any of those teams. If I had to choose, look, the 49ers are far and away right now the most dominant team in football. And with the Eagles, they've had back-to-back games where they have gotten smacked around, like beaten to a pulp. So that gives me pause to be like, okay, maybe we actually might be a good matchup for them because clearly their defense isn't working. Our defense isn't working. But do I want to get into a shootout with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown? Not really. Not with Jared Goff under center. I mean, like, again, anything could happen, I suppose, but I don't feel great about it. I'll just leave it at that. But we have a bunch of games I want to break down here. I didn't include the Monday night games, so I'll just include them at the end. The Texans. What the heck happened? I mean, seriously, like, I got to say, of all the outcomes this week that I did not expect, this one, if you would have told me the Jets, if Zach Wilson was going to have a career day and like a coming out party, so to speak, I would not believe you. I simply would think you were on copious amounts of drugs. CJ Stroud left the game hurt, but when he was in the game, it was not good. 10 completions for just 91 yards. He was sacked 4 times, so unable to, avoid that. Not that his O-line was doing him much help. Devin Singletary was your single best offensive player, and he had 65 yards. Like, and the lone touchdown that I guess you missed the extra point or you went for 2. I don't know. I didn't watch the game. What do you want from me? I can't watch every game, guys. But Zach Wilson, I welcome home. I don't. Zach Wilson will go down as like one of the worst draft picks. Where like he will look like he will have games like this, or he'll have plays where you're like, wow, he just made an amazing play. Maybe this kid's got some. And then he'll just like next week, I guarantee he's gonna play like he's gonna throw like 3 interceptions and pass for like 100 yards. It's like I have no idea what to take of Zach Wilson. He's the epitome of quarterback anomalies in the NFL, where like on paper and when you look at his statistics overall, you're like, wow, this guy sucks. And then when you play him, I mean, I remember when the Lions played him last year and he was hitting Garrett Wilson for deep shots. I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna have? Is this gonna be the day where Zach Wilson figures out how to be a quarterback in the NFL? But hey, you know what? Good for the Jets. Their defense showed out, and that's really been the main factor in the Robert Saleh Jets is that they have an amazing defense. So I really don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to fix this, but at least we see that in theory, the Jets can score points. In practice, it pretty much takes the opponent losing their starting quarterback and having to start Davis Mills. It's pretty much the only way. Let's take a look at what here you say, Mr. X. Zach Wilson has given me faith this season that he could still turn into something. Benching him was a really dumb decision because Boyle was never better than Wilson. Now that I will agree with. As a Lions fan, and you probably know this too, Mr. X, I know the Tim Boyle experience, and it's bad. It's very, very bad. I don't know why Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett had this idea that they could just bench Zach Wilson, who, look, I don't think he was worth the draft. I don't think he was worth the pick that they took for him. But the fact is, you took him before you thought you were going to trade for Aaron Rodgers or any of that. So this guy needs to be your backup. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be consistent. But Tim Boyle has never been good. Like, there's never been a game that Tim Boyle played where you're like, oh, that was good. At least you can point to some games that Zach Wilson has played, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, he's good. Or even if you didn't even want to play Tim Boyle, it's like, do what the Browns did. The Browns went and got Joe Flacco off a McDonald's employee. Like they found him in a McDonald's and they were like, "Hey, you want to play football?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And Joe Flacco's playing fine. He's playing like a aging veteran. Meanwhile, the Jets had a stupid idea to go start Tim Boyle. I'm not sure how I feel about Robert Saleh. I remember when he was hired, and I remember that first year when the Lions were really bad and the Jets were also pretty bad, but they weren't as bad. I remember there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, look, see the Fords, they got stupid. See, they could have went and hired the guy. He's from Michigan. He was all that stuff, and they went and they took a risk." And well, I think we pretty much came away with the better coach, or at least as it stands, the coach who has had more success right now. But that's neither here nor there. The other game I wanted to break down here was that Ravens and Rams game. Ravens pull off the win in overtime after a punt return. Now, this game to me, this was the epitome of Matthew Stafford at the Lions. Was put up a bunch of points, winning the game at the half, feeling good, do absolutely nothing in the third quarter, basically nothing in the fourth quarter, but you managed to tie the game up. Everything's good, and it's like, okay, if our defense can just make a stop, and okay, they just tied the game. We're going to overtime. Okay, all right, and then no, I got it wrong. That's right, because they had a final drive. Can I pull that up? Let's pull that up. I want to see where did they end up that final drive? They ended up kicking a field goal where they could have won the game potentially. They ended up at the Baltimore 18. So let's see. 1st and 10 from their own 25, incomplete. 2nd and 10, Stafford throws to 19-yard. Okay, feeling good. All right, extend the drive, and then at the Rams 44. All right, shotgun pass. Cooper Kupp 34 yards. And you're like, all right, here we go. We're going to win the game. We're going to lock it on. And at this point, you got just 44 seconds left. Call timeout. Makes sense. Got the ball at the Ravens 22. Okay, you're basically in the red zone. Then you got an 18-yard or you got a 4-yard pass. You're into the red zone. All right, feeling good. Just dunking and dime. Just getting inching closer. All right. And then 2nd and 6, incomplete. All right, you know what? That's fine. No problem. I don't know why they used their timeout there, but they used their timeout on 3rd and 6. And then the Ravens used their timeout. There was 16 seconds, guys. You could definitely run 1 or 2 more plays since you have the timeout. But anyway, then 3rd and 6. All right, and incomplete pass, and you got yourself a field goal, and you go into overtime. And what do you know? The Ravens punt the ball to you. So you stop them on defense. You got a chance here, and you do basically nothing. You end up at your own 26, and you're gonna go ahead and punt, and the game's over. And that to me, anybody who remembers watching those Lions teams back in the 2010s, that was what this was like, basically. Hey, look, the Rams technically still have a path to make the playoffs, but I would not be an unhappy person if this was the team that we got to play at home. Goff's old team, Stafford. I believe this would be Stafford's first time playing for the Rams back in Ford Field. So this would be like a big game. And look, I know if we lose that game, then it would be like the most, same old Lions crap. But if we win that game, we basically shut it down. You basically just completely, it's dead. It's buried in the ground. Peyton Manning and what's his name, they put it in a bathtub and they just drowned it. That's what they did. But moving along to the Bills and the Chiefs. Hold on. Wait, before we do that, let's take a look at Mr. X. What do you have to say here? Ravens 49ers game in a few weeks might be the best game of all time. Will Lamar extend his absurd 19-1 record against the NFC, or will the 49ers continue their dominance? That is potentially a Super Bowl preview, Mr. X. Those are the two teams in the AFC and NFC respectively, where I would not want to play them in the playoffs. And I know Lamar Jackson has had his struggles in the playoffs. I don't know. I think he definitely wants to get that monkey off his back. He definitely wants to, show the world that he can be successful in the postseason. And the 49ers, that game, that's on Christmas Day, I believe. I believe that's a Monday night game. So that should be a lot of fun. But anyways, Bills and Chiefs. This game, I said this on the pick'em clip / part of the show, where I said if this was a game that you thought like a couple of years ago was like you would think this would be absolutely Sunday night classic game of the year. This wasn't the game of the year, but it certainly has become the story of the year because the Chiefs are not great. They're not awful. They're just not great. They have right now a 4-3 record at home. Arrowhead is, in theory, one of the scariest places to play. Loud, crazy fans. You know, the elements are not usually in your favor. Going 4-3 is not a great look. It's not. And I don't want to put it on Mahomes because Mahomes is Mahomes. You really can't say that Mahomes is the reason they're losing. At the same time, that front office, that coaching staff, and in part, probably Mahomes himself said, we don't need to upgrade our receiver room. We're good. Are you? Because when your leading receiver is a tight end who is on the downward spiral of his career, that's not great. In the words of that guy from Mad Men, hold on.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. And look, here's the main thing. Here's the main takeaway of this. Okay. Kadarius Toney. I remember there were some Chiefs fans, and I will not expose any of these Chiefs fans because I don't actually know who they are. I remember seeing it where when they got Kadarius Toney and when he played pretty well in the Super Bowl, there was some Chiefs fans who were saying, look, we know how to develop. We got this. The Giants are such idiots for giving him up. And Kadarius Toney has cost them at this point at least 2 games. Cost them the Lions game, and he has now cost them this game. I got to say, I do not envy being Kadarius Toney right now. I'm sure he's making a lot of money. I'm sure he's pretty much set for life. I do not envy Kadarius Toney's position. Kadarius Toney had what he thought would be the game-winning touchdown on that crazy final lateral play, and you line up offsides. Brother, my boy, as a wide receiver, now, look, I only played football up to the 8th grade. I never played high school ball. But even I know, just like if you're unsure where you should be lined up, just back up. Just back up. Because if you're in the backfield, you're pretty much always legal, right? Okay, here's a demonstration. I haven't done a BS Sports demonstration in a while. Okay, let's assume this is the line of scrimmage. Okay, and I don't know. As a receiver, I don't know exactly where am I supposed to line up here or am I supposed to not line up here? Well, if I line up here and I'm not supposed to line up here, that's going to be offsides, right? Not good. You don't want that. So what I'll just do is I'll just line up like here, and then I'll just be like, you know what, ref, I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'm not offsides. We're good. Like, you're never going to get a penalty for just lining up a little bit back. Now, it might not benefit the play if you are supposed to be on the line of scrimmage, but you know what definitely doesn't benefit the play? Getting a penalty and having the play taken back. Like, and I'm sorry, and I know I was just talking about, I like Mahomes. I watched that QB documentary on Netflix. I thought it was great. I really like his competitiveness. I love he seems like a really nice guy. Seems like a good dad. No problems with his character whatsoever. You got to stop, whining, okay? You got to stop talking about the refs and to go up to Josh Allen after the game and say, like, oh, man, great game. That call was terrible. It's like, what the – first of all, Josh Allen, credit to him, he played, okay. He had a decent game. He ran for 32 yards. He had 233 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Like, he played at least a decent game. And to just basically say to him, yeah, you know what? I'm glad you had a great game and all, Josh, but that last penalty was total BS. It's like, first of all, it wasn't. Like, it's not like, it's not like, an offensive holding or OPI or, something where it's so clear, like if it's a bad call, right? Where you can just know that it's not a good call. Like you get called for OPI and your receiver is like getting tackled, right? That's obviously a bad call. But this is one of those penalties that is not reviewable in so much as the moment you see it, you know that it's a penalty or whether it's not. I don't know. I don't understand it, but I don't know. Chiefs fans are going to have to live with the reality that you're not actually going to be good every single year. And that doesn't mean you won't, still have a great year. I mean, I'll take being 8-5 any day. But I mean, hey, my team's 9-4, so I guess I'm better. I feel better than that. But here's another comment. Mr. X, the Chiefs really should have signed D-Hop. This team will not go far in the playoffs with terrible receiver play. It's kind of sad because the Chiefs team finally fixed their defense. Yeah, I think that's the thing is I think they need to lean a little bit more into their defense. And look, they have a pretty good running back room when healthy. Pacheco is pretty good. And who else do they have in the running back room? They got Pacheco and they got somebody else. He apparently didn't rush enough. Oh, McKinnon. Pacheco and McKinnon is not a bad running group. And you can utilize that as well as, heck, you could utilize Patrick Mahomes' ability to make a play. But you're just not – if you're the Chiefs right now, offseason priority has got to be a receiver. I don't know if you go and grab a veteran. I don't know if it's in the draft. You have to get a receiver. You just can't do what you're doing right now. It's just not going to work. But moving on, finally – well, not technically finally. We'll briefly talk about the Monday night games. The Cowboys are actually, unfortunately, a really good team. It sucks because I love to hate the Cowboys. They're my least favorite team outside of, I guess, the Packers and maybe the Bears and Vikings. I don't know. I never really had that much of a hatred for those two teams because they also pretty much were never all that good when we played them. It was all, they would be better, but like they were never like amazing. Packers though, can't stand the Packers. But the Cowboys, they legitimately might be a Super Bowl team. And I know that it gets said every single year, and every single year the Cowboys disappoint. But the Cowboys that I've known to grow and hate, they don't win this game 33-13. They might lose the game 33-13. They do not win 33-13. And Dak Prescott, at least at this point, he's probably the MVP. I mean, he had another great game, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. They finally sort of started to use Tony Pollard. He had 59 rushing yards. But you're in a good spot when Jake Ferguson is your leading receiver. Not CeeDee Lamb, but Jake Ferguson. And they really just have a great wide receiver room in CeeDee Lamb, in Michael Gallup, in Brandon Cooks. They look like a team that is at least going to be the NFC Championship. Where from the 49ers, the Cowboys might actually go to Super Bowl. See, here's the thing. I'm not going to totally write them off for that game. I mean, the 49ers have had their number for, the last, what has it been, like three years at this point? At least 2, or maybe at least 2 years in the playoffs where they just don't look good. I think the Cowboys want to do this. And the only thing that is going to stop them is Mike McCarthy being a dummy, being just a goober. So, look, if he continues to get bailed out by this level of talent, he's going to be just fine. Now, on the flip side, the Eagles. One moment. On the flip side, the Eagles. Are they the worst 10-3 team? Are they the new Cowboys? No. I think the Eagles are still a very good team. However, it is a factor of how you lose, okay? The 49ers lost 3 games in a row, and they didn't look good those 3 games, and they managed to bounce back. The Eagles, unfortunately, are losing bad, and they're losing bad at the worst time. If you're going to lose bad in October. Lose bad in late September. Don't lose bad in December and in January. That's when the story of your season is written, right? Because Hey, I'm learning it. Well, people are learning it through the Lions already, right? Like you look real good up to the bye week for the most part. But nobody's going to remember if the Lions, go out and barely win the division and then get blown out in the playoffs. The story of that season will be, oh yeah, that's when they got blown out by the Packers or by the Rams in the playoffs. Like, it's just not going to, you can't have that. And I fear for the Eagles, and I fear for Eagles fans, because if they, go, they're almost certainly going to make the playoffs. I don't even know that it's possible for them to not make the playoffs. But in the sense that, like, okay, maybe technically, mathematically speaking, it's possible, but practically speaking, it's not. Like they took a big step back on their defense, and I think the loss of both their coordinators has made them just sort of an odd team, where they will start slow. Like, you go back and you look at some of the games. Let me actually look at their schedule and the results, and go back and look. They got away with one against the Bills. They got away with one against the Chiefs. They got away with one against the Cowboys. Got away with one against the Commanders. They did beat the Dolphins pretty soundly. Lose to the Jets. Close game against the Rams. I mean, like, seriously, looking back at their games, they really weren't, like, dominating. I mean, people forget this. Again, week 1, they almost lost to the Patriots. Like, I get it was in New England. At that point, the season is fresh and everybody's, ready to go. But look, they don't have, like, a terribly hard season the rest of the way. In fact, they have a very easy season. They have, the Giants twice and the Cardinals. But they do have to play against Seattle this weekend, or this upcoming Monday. That's going to be a tougher game, especially in Seattle. If they lose that game, yeah, this team's Super Bowl aspirations, they're pretty much done, I think, at that point. But again, you never know. It's the NFL. And then briefly, want to talk about these 2 Monday night games. Very, very briefly. Shout out to the Titans. Like they, I will give them credit in that they won that game through sheer willpower alone. Like, they didn't really deserve to win that game, but Will Levis, he might be somebody. And I'm not saying he's like the second coming. I'm not saying he's their guy. Absolutely. But he certainly can play well. Like, he's like better. He's like Ryan Tannehill when that team was rocking. And that gives you a little bit of a smaller window. Now, granted, Ryan Tannehill, when you got him, was a lot older, so you probably have more time to work with Levis and develop him. But look, you're going to need to upgrade a lot of position groups on that team. And if you want to keep running it with Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry's not getting any older, or not getting any younger, I should say. He is getting older by the second. So yeah. And also the other Monday night game, look, shout out G-Men, shout out Tommy DeVito for being the Detroit Lions that we needed. We needed the Lions to look like the Giants did this week. They got the job done. Tommy DeVito. Now, is he good? No, he's not good. Giants fans, I need you to stop. Okay? We need to snap back to reality. If you win the game because you managed to pass for less than 200 yards, that's what we call a fluke. That's not sustainable. Like, no, he's not good. But you know what? He's good enough right now. And Jordan Love, where's all the people who are saying, all these people who just totally wrote Jordan Love off earlier in the season? They don't. It's like, oh, okay. So when Jordan Love has a bunch of good games, all the people who didn't like Jordan Love, they're just totally wrong. They don't know anything about football. But now he has a bad game when we're right back where we started, where we don't even know. And look, I'm not saying he's like the worst quarterback ever. I'm just saying he seems like a quarterback to me. From the large sample that we've seen, it seems to me that he's a quarterback that you don't know if he can play a full game. Even when he beat Detroit, that second half was not amazing. And again, it could just be they're running a different offense or winning the game. They're trying to eat away at the clock. Sure, whatever. This game was not that case. I mean, ironically, the Packers actually scored more points in the second half than they did in the first half. But their defense pretty much threw this game away. Joe Barry, who again last week everyone was talking about how great Joe Barry is, and then I don't know. I don't want to just dunk on Packers fans. Although I do want to dunk on Packers fans, in theory, right? Like in the abstract. Of course, I want to dunk on Packers fans, but for this, I'm not going to dunk on them. You lose a game on the road. You're still a incomplete and a very young team. So you still have a lot of room to grow. And hey, I will say, I like the way they utilize Jayden Reed. Now, I'm a Spartan fan. I know Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed was very good for us. I think you could utilize him a little bit more in the passing game, but you're utilizing him really pretty well in the run game. I like him on the kind of trick plays where on the motion you toss to him on the sweeps. I think he does well in that role. But again, shout out to the G-Men for getting the job done. Appreciate it, guys. So that was this week in the NFL. So what do I want to transition to at this point? I guess we'll keep it in football for right now before we move on to other sports. Jayden Daniels. He wins the Heisman this season. LSU, 4,946 passing yards and 50 touchdowns. I mean, you're not going to hear any complaints from me. You're not going to hear anything from me. He certainly deserves it. No doubt in my mind, he was one of the best quarterbacks of the season. The only thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about some of these voting results that were posted by one of the voters. So Jayden Daniels obviously receiving the most first place votes by orders of magnitude, even I don't know if that's exactly right, by at least over 100, over 200. Like the second closest was Michael Penix. I'll get to that in 1 second, Mr. X. Michael Penix had 292 first place votes. There is there's actually a few that I have some questions for. And this is not just Michigan State slander, okay? Although I'm sure people will turn it into that. JJ McCarthy got a first place vote. I'm not saying you don't give him any votes. I'm not saying you don't give him a third place vote. I can argue. I can see that. Fine. Second place vote? Okay, you're kind of put a first place vote? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't do this. And I will even stand for Blake Corum because Blake Corum this year, arguably one of the best running backs in college football. But you're still kind of pushing it a little bit. Okay, fair. You're pushing it in the sense that this is actually not even the best year that Blake Corum has had. And I don't know that that's a consideration that they can even really have. I'm just saying. The J.J. McCarthy thing, I mean, come on. There's no way you can give this guy a first place vote. Second place, third place, you could somewhat argue it. I'm not gonna get confused. But first place, no, I'm sorry. You can't do that. Do I think Michigan State gets Adrian Childs? Or is it Aiden Childs? Is it Adrian Childs or Aiden Childs? I don't remember. I certainly think it's a possibility. I mean, obviously you have the coaching connection with Jonathan Smith. We need a quarterback for sure. So if you go out and you get somebody like Childs who at least understands what the head coach is looking for, I certainly would like that a lot more than what we had this year, where basically I don't know if there was any sort of idea of what any of our quarterbacks were supposed to be. I will say, though, I believe it was Sam Leavitt is now with Arizona State. So I'm sure he'll do about as well as I expect him to do at Arizona State. But it is kind of funny because I remember there was a lot of people who were saying after the one game that he played, people were saying, "Oh, he's got a lot of potential." I'm like, what? He threw one pass. I mean, now, okay. I know you just said it, Mr. X. I don't mean to call you out. Maybe he has potential, but he threw one pass this whole time. I would agree more so if when we put him in, he was slinging the ball and they were playing for him to throw the ball. But it seemed like every time they put him in, it was okay, we're gonna run the ball 3 times and then have him throw on a 3rd and 10. It's well, shoot, man. I don't think anybody's gonna have success in that scheme. But hey, maybe he goes off in Arizona State and he gets a chance and he transfers into a bigger school from there. I'm sure he probably has a lot more potential than Noah Kim. I was just like, and I talked about this was a few weeks ago at this point. Like, where does Noah Kim and Kate Nowser maybe has more of a case, but where does Noah Kim expect to go? Like, who, like, was he going to be the new QB1 for Central? Like, maybe. Yeah, maybe he could. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But moving along, relatively briefly, we'll kind of just go over the things for each of these stories in the MLB in the offseason, because we had a crazy week in the offseason. First of all, the Yankees trade for Juan Soto. I want to take a look at the actual trade package here. Kim went to Coastal Carolina. Oh, I did not see that. Well, he's exactly where he belongs then. Let's take a look. What is the actual package? Here we go. So Yankees trade to get Juan Soto and Trent Grisham. Don't forget about Trent. Padres, on the other hand, receive Michael King, Drew Thorpe, Randy Vasquez, Johnny Brito, and catcher Kyle Higashioka. So if you're the Padres, yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? You had a couple of years of Juan Soto. Not even. You had a year and a half. So that was fun. Glad we did that. On the flip side, hey, you upgraded your pitching in your farm system. I know the Padres were down bad in their farm system, so good job, Padres. You've managed to flip Juan Soto because you just straight up actually might not have been able to afford to pay him. Like, literally, that was like they were bringing out loans. I don't know that I totally buy that, but they were saying it, so I was like, okay, like I mean, like we could in theory verify whether or not what they're saying is true, but okay, they're taking out loans to pay things. That's never a good thing. But look, the Yankees getting Juan Soto is definitely an ad, because that offense was no bueno. Once they lost Aaron Judge, that whole offense just completely collapsed. So you add in a young, I mean, it's hard to call him young at this point. He's been playing in the league for like 5-6 years at this point. But you add in like a superstar caliber player like Juan Soto and an outfielder like at that, certainly makes the Yankees a little bit more competitive offensively. Now, will it work out? Probably not. I'm just going to go on a limb and say it probably doesn't work out. But I'll at least give it a chance. I'll at least give the Yankees a chance. Now, this one angered me, okay? Eduardo Rodriguez, old Erod, agrees to a 4-year deal with the Diamondbacks. Now, I'm not like a geography guy. I don't have a map in front of me. You know what? Actually, we'll do a little experiment. Map of USA. Okay, here we go. Ooh, this one's colorful. Let's go ahead and use this one. Okay, let's share. Oh nope, that's the wrong button. Let's go ahead and share screen. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a look at this together. Okay. So I don't know why I'm so tiny. Can I do this? This is much better. Okay. So here's Michigan, right here. This is Michigan. So I don't know. Can you see my cursor? Actually, we'll do it with the bigger one. Here we go. Now you can definitely see my cursor, I think. Can you? There we go. Now you could see. Oh, because I wasn't clicked on it. So here's Michigan, right? Right here. Now, Eduardo, when we wanted to trade him, he said that he didn't want to go out west. That was the reason why he opted out of he stopped us from trading him to the Dodgers. Now, of course, Dodgers, they're over here. They're over here in California, in the pink, right here. This is California. Okay? So he wants to stay out east. So I'd say probably like the further, his line is probably like around here, right? Around where EST ends, right? Probably his line is right here. So, like, you know, you'd think, you know, going into free agency, he might sign with, say, like the Yankees, okay? Maybe the Mets, the Orioles, they're down around here. Maybe the Phillies, they could always add some pitching. The Rays, if they wanted to spend some money, it's an option. All East Coast, all very. He could go back to Boston to go back and play with the Red Sox. His old team. Where's that? That's like around here, right? I want to say east. Now, he ended up going here. here into Arizona, namely Phoenix. Now, let's go over our diagram again. Okay, so this is the East. All of this is East. And he said, his words, not mine. He said, I want to stay on the East. Okay, and so he lied then. So you lied, Erod, is what you did. Instead of just saying, oh, actually, I just want to get paid more money, you instead said, oh, no, I don't want to play out west. Okay, fine. You want to play it that way? That's fine. You just screwed the team because you're a terrible communicator. And let's not forget, this is the same guy who in the middle of the season last year, or 2 years ago, I guess at this point, just said, you know what, guys, I don't want to come to work. I'm not really going to explain why, and I'm not really going to take any interviews or, allow anybody to ask me any questions. I'm just going to not go to work. And we just kind of let him. We were like, okay, you know what, fine. You have some issue you want to deal with. Maybe the rumors were something about his marriage, his family. I don't know. Maybe it was a real family emergency. You had to take care of it. Fine. No problem. Can you at least communicate like a little bit? Because, we signed you for like $1 million to play baseball, but no. So you know what? I'm just saying, if Eduardo Rodriguez has a really bad year, it just couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I'll just leave it at that. But the big story in the offseason, and you know what? We'll get to that last. The other story I want to talk about, Tigers bring back Andrew Chafin. I think this is a really nice pickup. Solid bullpen arm. I don't really know why we let him go to begin with. He's going to be a nice addition to that pitching staff. I like Andrew Chafin. Good stuff. Good job, Scott Harris. But Shohei Ohtani has signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it is for 10 years, $700 million. Now, here's the thing. It's not $70 million a year. No. That's not what it is. He's deferring all but like 680. He's deferring like up to 680 of that money to come at the end of the deal. So they're essentially paying him like what, $5 million a year or something like that, because it's like 10 or how many million. Like they're paying him a significant less than what the actual value of the contract is. Let me see if I can actually pull it up on Spot Track. Let me see if I can pull it up. 1 second here. Shohei Ohtani contract. Here we are. Let's see. So, okay, yeah. So here's the thing. For basically each year, they're only paying him $2 million until the end, where they're paying him like a bazillion till the end of the deal, where all of it all adds up. Like, I gotta say, if Shohei Ohtani does not win a World Series, if the Dodgers don't win a World Series with this team, then they're just never winning a World Series again, because that is one of the most loaded Dodgers teams. And I feel like we say this every year, but that is the most loaded Dodgers team ever. Like, you have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei, and things. And you're also going to have Kershaw, who actually he might be hurt, but I don't know if he'll be back. But you're going to have him in that lineup. I mean, to be fair, you also have Shohei, who's not going to be pitching. But look, that Dodgers team is scary. And right now, as it stands, they're the team to beat. But obviously, baseball, several months away, and a lot of things can change. So the money is in baseball and European soccer because they don't have a salary cap. All the parents are going to start their kids in baseball after that Ohtani contract. That is true. The thing is, this is something that I think a lot of people, they don't understand. A lot of baseball fans don't understand. It's odd to me. And maybe it's like younger people, or maybe it's older people. I don't really know. I don't know what the demographic is of the people who don't understand this. It's when you talk about paying a player, right? Like, my thing is I don't really care how much you pay a player, just as long as you get the player. Like, if you pay a player $10 million and he's amazing, that's fine with me. Pay him $1 bazillion, fine with me. If he's good, doesn't really matter. And people are like, well, what do you mean? What about like you're paying Harvey Baez $25 million a year? It's like, well, Yeah, it sucks, but like I don't really care. You could be paying him $100 million a year. I'd still be upset. Like you could be paying $1 a year. I'd be upset. Like it doesn't matter because you don't have a salary cap. So like the thing was, and I was taught like there was some people who were like, oh well, they're not gonna like the end of this contract. They're not gonna like it 5 years. It's like, okay, yeah, no contract is ever going to be liked at the end of it. None. See Miguel Cabrera. Like, and honestly, a lot of people weren't even big fans of it at the beginning of that contract. But like, it's not about like where they're going to be at the end of the contract. It's about where they're at right now. And your window, roughly speaking, if you signed about a 10-year deal in baseball, your window in theory is like that 3-4 year period of you're going to be playing competitive ball and you're going to have a chance to win the World Series every single year. Like that's what the Yankees were thinking with Aaron Judge. I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't think it will because Aaron Judge seems to be a little injury prone in my opinion. He was injury prone before last season. But that's neither here nor there. Like they believe their window is right now. And if you win a World Series with the Dodgers, if you're Shohei Ohtani, and if you're a Dodgers fan, if you win a World Series in the first 1 or 2 years, it's like, okay, I don't really care if they suck in 10 years. Like that's a 10 years down the line problem. And then at that point, you know what? Shohei, thank you for your service. We're going to buy out your contract. Go and watch the game from home. Like go and watch the game from your mansion on the beach. Like go do that. And the other thing too is like, well, look, this is the Dodgers. They're one of the most shrewd organizations in baseball. They know what they're doing. They can develop talent from their own system. And they have infinite money. They have owners who actually care about the product on the field. So they will go out and they will say, you know what? Yeah, sure, we're paying, $700 million to Shohei, but here's the newest big-time free agent. We'll just go ahead and sign him. They don't care. They don't think about it. They think about how can we enhance the Los Angeles Dodger brand. And I respect it. I do. So, real quick, we got to talk about this. We got to have an intervention, okay? This is a Spartan intervention. So if you're not a Michigan State fan, if you're not a college basketball fan, listen in, I guess, if you just want to hear some Schadenfreude, or you're just curious, maybe you don't know much about college basketball. Let's have a talk, Michigan State Spartan fans. Oh, look, the Wings just got a 2-1 lead. That's nice. Was that Jonathan Berggren who got his first goal of the year? That's good for him. Anyways, I got distracted. I think we just kind of suck. You know what, Mr. X, you win. This right here. Hold on, let me get you this.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Michigan State is a hockey school at this point. Like, I gotta ask the question: will we even make the tournament? Because right now, Michigan State and Tom Izzo has, I think, the longest-lasting tournament streak in college basketball, and at this point, I really don't think we're going to make it. And that is a scary thought because at this point, for one, Tom Izzo, let's set some Spartan fans straight. Tom Izzo's not getting fired. It's just not going to happen. It's like Bill Belichick. It's like, Tom Landry back in the day for the Cowboys. Actually, I don't know if they did fire Tom Landry, but you know what I mean. You're not firing him, okay? He's arguably one of, if not the best coaches you've ever had. He's certainly a top 10 college basketball coach of all time. Like, he is one of the most successful coaches in any sport, let alone college basketball. You're not firing him, even if it sucks right now. It's like D'Antonio. D'Antonio didn't get fired at MSU football. He left. He chose to leave of his own volition. There's never gonna be a report that, Alan Haller has fired Tom Izzo and, I'm the new head coach. Host of BS Sports, Mike Caruana, is the new head coach. And this is the thing, X. I gotta ask you a question as well. Outside of Tyson Walker, who on this team is either a good player or a proven player? Malik Hall? No. AJ Hoggard? Matty Sissoko? No. Who else are we even starting? Jayden Daniels? No, not really. Off our bench, Cohen Carr. Very exciting. Proven? No. Xavier Booker. Do you even play? Like that's the thing that bothers me is Xavier Booker, who him and Cohen Carr were the two guys that were totally hyped up this offseason. These were the two guys that I remember people talking, oh, just you wait. Cohen Carr, Xavier, these guys are legit. And I was like, okay, maybe they are. But our starting five, which is Sissoko, Walker, Hall, Akins, and did I miss somebody? Sissoko, Walker, Hall, Akins, Hogard. Of that starting five, the only one that I really like is Tyson Walker. And Tyson Walker was a transfer. There's a part of me that thinks, can Tom Izzo even develop these young guys? Like, Cohen Carr is incredibly athletic. He's incredibly exciting. But I don't know that he can develop into that Cassius Winston, into, Draymond, into any of these classic Michigan State players of the Izzo line. It doesn't bode well, is all I'm saying. And I just need to I need to come together with my fellow Spartans and just have a moment where we huddle together and we realize, we just aren't good. And I was one of the few people who, even before the season and then after that James Madison game, who was willing to say this team I don't understand this team. Like, before the season, I said, you know what? I don't really get it. They're getting a lot of hype. I don't understand it. I'm going to let it play. They played that first game against James Madison. I knew this team wasn't good because you know what I knew? This team is the exact same team as last year, where they go down huge margins in the beginning of games and they lose games in the first 5 minutes, or they out of nowhere just play really well. And you don't know what team you're going to get any given game. I wouldn't be surprised if we beat Baylor on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised. I would be happy, but I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, sure. That makes sense. They just randomly win a game they're not supposed to. And then they go and, I don't know, they'll lose to like Southern Indiana or something. I hope, please don't do that, actually. That would be not fun. But, yeah. So my main thing is, I don't know if we're going to make the tournament. I think if we lose to Baylor, I mean, it's going to be really hard to get us into the tournament. And if we do get in, we'd certainly be a play-in team. It just hasn't been good. And basically since Cassius left, since that, I'm convinced that the pandemic, I don't know if maybe Tom Izzo has COVID brain or something. Since that season, we have not been able to replace Cassius Winston or Xavier Tillman or anyone. Like, I don't know. It just hasn't been the same team basically since 2019, 2020. So if you want to enjoy Michigan State basketball, go back and watch their 2018, 2019 run to the Final Four. That was when basketball was fun. I do too, X. I do too. But other thing I wanted to talk about here in the NBA, briefly, I want to talk about the Lakers because they won that in-season tournament. And look, I'm not going to do any smarm, but I want to actually ask, do people actually care? And I'm not trying to be smarmy. I mean, like, I actually don't know. Like, there was like differing reports from people I got of like that people really liked it. Some people didn't really care. I don't know. I'm sort of on the I don't really care camp, but they get a trophy and they got themselves a banner. So whatever. Good for them, I guess. My only question about them is if they're able to do this in the playoffs, if they're able to put it together. Like they've played some pretty nice ball. And on paper, again, it's like I feel like their team goes as far as Davis does. Like, if Anthony Davis wants to just keep playing at an all-NBA level, then they're going to win, or they're going to be a hard team to beat in the playoffs. But it's hard to rely on Anthony Davis. It's just like you don't know what you're going to get, and from the bench, you don't know if Austin Reeves is going to have an off night. It's hard to rely on a 39-year-old man and LeBron James. But hey, you know what? If I'm going to rely on one 39-year-old man, I'd certainly want to rely on LeBron James. Like that. I don't know how he is still able to play at a top 10, potentially even top 5 player in the game level. Like, it is amazing. Truly amazing. If you don't have a chance to watch a Lakers game or just watch LeBron James, you have to, because, I mean, whatever you think of him personally, I'm not really a big fan of his personally, but as a player, it's unbelievable. He's without a doubt the best player I've ever watched. But yeah. And then on to the Pistons. I have a question, and it is, I'm laughing because I don't want to cry. Hold on. Let me pull up their schedule. So the Pistons, I have a question. Will they win a game before the New Year's Eve ball drops in New York? I'm on team no. I don't think they will win a game. Here's their games going into the new year. Okay, you ready? Tomorrow, you got the Sixers at home. Friday, Sixers on the road. Saturday, Bucks on the road. Monday, Hawks on the road. Following Thursday, Utah at home. Saturday, the 23rd, Nets on the road. Or did I say Utah on the road? I meant Utah at home. You got the Nets at home. You have the Celtics on the road. And then your final game of the year is the Raptors at home. Now, keep in mind that Boston game is national broadcast. That game will be on NBA TV. If you have NBA TV, I encourage you to turn that game on Thursday, the 28th, because if you want to see what is arguably the single worst basketball team in the history of the league, and potentially history in the making if they continue this losing streak, like, that is a game I think people will unironically want to watch. We've already lost one of our national broadcast games, so I don't know if they're going to keep that one. I would be shocked if they did, assuming we lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more games in a row. Right now, we are on a 20-game losing streak. I believe the franchise record is 21, but that was over 2 seasons. I think we've already beaten the single season franchise losing record. So at this point, I'm on team go out there and make history, because how many losses is it going to take to where Tom Gores, Troy Weaver come out and publicly Sudoku themselves? Publicly, it is so awful. They are so bad. They're built horrible. I'm not going to get into an angry Pistons fan rant because I've already done that before, but they are so bad. And the fact that ownership and front office has said nothing. This team hasn't won a game since before Halloween. 3 days before Halloween, to be precise. We're getting to the point where it is entirely possible, and I'm not even trying to be facetious. It is entirely possible that by the end of this season, the Lions will have won more games than the Pistons. I'm not even let's assume the best case scenario for the Lions is they win out. That means they win 13 games. And then we'll just assume they win a playoff game. So 14 games, and maybe they lose. So 14 games at most. I don't know that they can win 14 games. I'm not trying to be smarmy. What is their next win? At Houston? Probably not. That's a decent team. San Antonio on January the 10th? I maybe have that game at home. Houston at home again? You go on the road to Washington, who beat you like a drum? There is 2 or 3 teams in the league that I think they can beat. Yeah, this is the other thing, X. The Pistons aren't going to get the first pick. If they don't get the first pick, I'm telling you. I said it. We only won 15 last year. And we won 15 games last year, and we're playing worse. The other thing that I want to say about this is if we don't get the first pick this year in the lottery, I don't want to hear about it not being rigged. I'm sorry. There is no way that if we lose, say, 30 games in a row, There is no way in hell you can just say, you know what, actually, we're going to give the first pick to the Wizards. It's like, no, absolutely not. Like, I don't care about the odds. I don't care about, actually, it's only a point. No, because we wouldn't do this for other teams. They wouldn't do this for other teams. They didn't do this for Philly. Philly got 2 first overall picks in a row, and they had a season similar to this. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't hear any of that nonsense. No. If we don't get the first overall pick again this year, then I don't want to hear anybody saying it's not rigged, because it's rigged at that point. I said it was rigged this year. Watch, we dropped to like 5. 5 again? Then please, don't even at me. Don't even. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any of that nonsense. But that's it for that. Briefly, as the Red Wings are actually on right now, I want to talk about the Red Wings, where they're at right now. So let's actually pull up Detroit Red Wings. I should have gotten the link before the show, but that's where we're at. Let's take a look at the standings. I hate the lottery. The whole point of the draft is to make the worst teams better. By not giving the worst teams the first pick, defeats the purpose. Could not agree more, Mr. X. I have never heard a good argument for a draft lottery, because what a lot of people say is, well, it prevents taking. Clearly not. Clearly it doesn't prevent tanking. Plenty of teams have tanked to try to get these high lottery odds, because it's like, you might say it doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, reward tanking. I don't know about that either, because you can be a team like, let's use the Spurs, who have been like not a great team, but they certainly weren't as bad. Like they went out and they were just not trying, essentially, right? Like they were just losing games, and they didn't have the worst record in the year, but they had a worse record than they otherwise probably should have had, right? If you look at the team and you look at the projection, yeah, they probably played below what they should have, but they got the first overall pick. It seemed like tanking worked for them. It seemed like tanking worked for Philly when they got 2 first overall picks in a row. Seems like tanking works for Chicago on the NHL when they get their first overall pick for their first year of actually tanking and selling off assets. So, like, this idea that tanking is like mitigated because of the lottery, it's just not true. It's just not true. If anything, you would lessen teams from tanking, because you wouldn't have Dallas saying, it's better to not make the playoffs and give ourselves like a 0.1% chance to get the first overall pick. Like, I don't know. I can't. I'm not going to go on that rant for that long. Anyways, back into hockey. So currently the Wings sit in 4th place in the Atlantic Division, 32 points. They have a 2-1 lead over St. Louis right now. A win tonight would put them over the Maple Leafs, assuming the Leafs, I don't know if they play tonight, but assuming they don't get a point tonight, that would put them over them into 3rd place and into like that top echelon of the playoff picture. Thing about this Red Wings team is they are 8-4, that is their home record. Their last 10, they're 6-3-1. So after that, let's take a look. After that game in Sweden, if I can, I need to go back to November. After that second game in Sweden, this team just caught fire. They won 3 straight, including a win over Boston on the road, as well as a win at home against New Jersey. They lose in a tough game against the Rangers. They blow out the Blackhawks. They beat the Canadiens in overtime. They beat the Sabres on the road. And then they go on a 3-game losing streak. And then they lose to the Sharks in a game they absolutely should have had. They get blown out to the Senators at home. They get blown out by the Stars on the road, which, I mean, okay. Stars are a really good team this year. I'm not going to, totally crap on them for that. So right now, I think they definitely got to win this game because they don't necessarily have that easy of a stretch upcoming. They got 2 teams in the Carolina Hurricanes and the Philadelphia Flyers, both playoff teams that you're going to have to play. That Carolina game is also going to be another national broadcast game. So we're going to have 2 back-to-back national broadcast games. Clearly the NHL is trying to show us off. And it's not an easy December. I'll just say that. And the Eastern Conference is always tough. It's, I think, the better of the 2 conferences. But my only thing is, will this lack of inconsistency, and then, of course, unfortunately, the loss of Dylan Larkin, we don't know when he's going to come back, that might seriously harm our abilities, not just to make the playoffs, but to make a run in the playoffs. And I know in the NHL, we saw last year, All you got to do is make it. I don't care what seed you are. I don't care if you're struggling near the end. It doesn't matter. Just make the playoffs, and you can make noise. Simple. I do think that they can make the playoffs. I do think that they will make the playoffs. Hopefully, we can get Dylan Larkin back sooner rather than later. Because you're going to lose some offense without Dylan Larkin. I mean, Jonathan Berggren's an interesting young player. He's not Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin is the captain. Never easy to come back losing your captain. No, never easy. All right. So that is going to be it for the news, which brings us to everybody's favorite part of the show. It's the part of the show that constantly gets talked about. It's constantly in the news. I saw it in the local newspaper of lies and smears. I don't know why it was in that section, but it was in that section. It is, of course, the one, the only, the picks. Let's get the music going. Classic. Right here. Classic music. So, Seth sent in the picks as per usual. We will take a look. All right. Thursday Night Football. We have an example of what I like to call football terrorism, in that it is a crime against football. The Chargers visiting division rival, the Rams. Seth is taking his Los Angeles Chargers to San Diego, and I am going to not agree because the Chargers today, it was announced Justin Herbert is dead. He just, his hand is broken or his finger is broken or something. So he's done for the season. And the Raiders, for as bad as they are, I do think that they're going to be able to win this game. They're not playing great football, but I think in theory they can play a better game. It's going to be an ugly game. You're going to have two not starter quarterbacks playing one another in a primetime game. Amazon, please. I don't know what you're doing. You're killing Al Michaels. You need to stop. It's criminal. Then we got some Saturday showdowns. The Vikings visiting the Kitties in Cincinnati. The Bengals. Seth is taking the Kitties, and I am going to agree. The Browning effect is real. He's not terrible, but he's not amazing either. He's just he exists, basically. And that is more than I can say about the Vikings offense. I'm not sure they could score a touchdown. I really am not sure. And the Bengals are still technically fighting for a playoff spot. Vikings also still technically fighting for a playoff spot, but I don't think they're going to be able to pull this game off on the road. Give me the Browning effect in Cincy. Up next, the Steelers head to Indy, taking on the Colts. Seth is taking the Steelers, and I'm going to disagree here as well. I'm going to take the Colts. Look, the Steelers, they can't score in a whorehouse. Like, they are so bad, and obviously you don't have Kenny Pickett, so you're running with Mitch Trubisky. And if we're talking about the battle of backups, give me Minshew Mania over Mitch Trubisky. I mean, like, it's in Indy. Again, Indy is like a weird good team. They are in the playoffs, I believe. Or if they're not in the playoffs, they're certainly in the hunt. So, yeah, give me the Colts. Give me the Horsies. And finally on Saturday night, prime time, the Broncos visiting the Lions. Seth is taking the Lions. Did I not loop? Oh, no, I did. Never mind, I'm good. I thought I didn't loop the music. We're good. Yeah, I am going to agree. I'm going to take the Lions. I don't want to bet against the Lions because that just makes things sad. The Lions are not playing their best football right now, and the Broncos, unfortunately, they got the win over the weekend over the Chargers, whom, frankly, I don't think are that good of a team. But the Lions coming back home, they play much better out of the elements. Certainly Jared Goff does. And this is a game where you have the master playing the young Padawan, so to speak. Dan Campbell, of course, coming from the Sean Payton coaching tree, and I think Dan Campbell is going to know a lot of his old tricks. Whereas, I mean, I suppose Sean Payton might know something about Dan Campbell, obviously, having trained him, but I usually like the proteges beating the masters. At least in the case of the Belichick tree, that seemed to always happen. But give me the Lions over the Broncos. Up next, the Falcons taking on the Panthers. And again, another example of football terrorism. Seth is going to take the Falcons, and I'm going to agree. If you ever take the Panthers in anything, it better be to not hit the over because they're one of, if not the single worst football team right now. Bryce Young looks absolutely awful. And I gotta say, like, to the people who still believe in Bryce Young, it's rough out here in the streets. I don't necessarily totally disbelieve in his ability, but I don't really believe that he is the guy necessarily. He's going to need some help. They're going to need to build that team, but he is in no environment to develop well right now. So give me the Falcons to win an awful game. I do not envy people who have time to watch that game. That's not going to be good. The Bears heading to Cleveland, taking on the Brownies. Seth is taking the Brownies, and this is actually kind of a tougher game because the Bears, they want to play a little bit of spoiler, I would imagine. Browns are not great on offense, but that defense is so good. Although it's been a little sus. It's been a little sus, in my opinion. I don't know how... You know what? I'll just go with the Browns. I'll go with the home team. The Browns are still fighting for a playoff spot, I believe, so their season is certainly not over, whereas the Bears certainly closer to being over than it is to being in life. So, yeah, I'll take the Browns. Give me the Elves. Up next, the Buccaneers taking on the Pack in Green Bay. Seth taking the Packers. Yeah, I will agree. I think Jordan Love probably has a bounce-back game. Now, if Jordan Love has another bad game and the Buccaneers manage to win this game, again, the Buccaneers, they are fighting for that division. Like, they're in the playoffs, and they certainly want to win that division and get a home playoff game. So they're going to be playing to win, and they're going to be playing tough. It's not an easy Buccaneers team. They're kind of sneaky. But it's on the road, in the elements, mid-December. This is not a good combination. Yeah, I'm going to take the Pack, win this game. Up next, the Jets taking on the Finns. Little Black Friday rematch. Seth is taking the Dolphins. Now, the problem with this game is you don't have Tyreek Hill, but you know what I say to that? Or, well, we don't know if you'll have Tyreek Hill. You probably, assuming that you don't, I don't really care. The Jets are terrible. Zach Wilson is not going to have another good game. I don't think he's ever had two good games in a row. So, yeah, give me the Finns. Tua hopefully has another good game. Even if he doesn't have his guy in Tyreek Hill, I think he's still going to probably light up. Or at least, maybe not necessarily light up, but score enough points to where Zach Wilson is not going to win you that game. So, give me the Finns. Up next, the Giants taking on the Saints. Seth is taking, looking for it, the Giants. And you know what? I agree. I don't know what it is, but the G-men have figured it out. I don't know how they're doing it, because it's not pretty, and Tommy DeVito is not good. But they're winning games. And frankly, I trust them at this point more than I trust the Saints. The Saints can win games against bad teams. That's true. They can beat the Sails off the Panthers. They can't beat teams that are even decently good. And I don't think the Giants are decently good. I think they're decently bad. Like they are below average, but they're a little above where I think the Saints are. Technically speaking, the Saints still can win, can still make the playoffs and win their division, but I don't know. I believe in Tommy DeVito at this point. I don't know. He's got some magical power where he's just able to make other teams collapse. So give me the G-Men. Up next, the Texans taking on division rival Titans. I don't know if CJ Stroud is going to play in this game. Seth is taking the Texans. You know, I think they're going to lose this game, unfortunately. I don't know about CJ Stroud's status, and Will Levis got to be feeling good after that win. Passing for over 300 yards, game-winning drive, the whole shebang. Titans still fighting for that division as well, and I believe still fighting for a playoff spot. I think they got something. I think it's not impossible, and especially if you don't have CJ Stroud, and I believe Tank Dell was that last week? Was that last week that Tank Dell went down? I think that was last week. It's certainly a weakened Texans team than when they were getting hot. So I'll take the Titans, get the win here over Texans. Up next, the Chiefs versus the Patriots in New England. Seth is taking the Chiefs, and I will also take the Chiefs because I'm not an idiot. I mean, this is the worst Patriots team I've ever seen. Their season is over. They're out of the playoffs. they got nothing to lose at this point. They're probably just going to start starting a bunch of players they don't really care about because they're going to try to play spoiler, and this Chiefs team is not that good, but they're light years ahead of where that Patriots team is. And Patrick Mahomes wants to have another good game against Bill Belichick. So give me the Chiefs to win this game. Up next, the Niners visiting their division rival Cardinals in Arizona. Seth is taking the 49ers. Yeah, it's pretty much the 49ers game season to lose at this point. I don't think the Cardinals will win another game at this point. I don't even know who their quarterback is. Oh yeah, Kyler Murray. He's back. I forgot that he's back. It might be an interesting game for maybe 5 or so minutes, and then the Niners will just grab the bird by the neck and just rip its head off. And that's not going to look good. Certainly not going to be good for national audiences. So, yeah, take the Niners in that game. Up next, the Commies, the Commanders, heading to LA, taking on the Rams. Seth taking the Rams in this one. I will agree. Rams playing for the playoffs. Commanders, I don't know if you believe in defense. I don't know if that's a thing you acknowledge as a part of the game, but clearly it has not been a factor for the Commanders in several weeks at this point. So yeah, give me the Rams. I think if Stafford can play the kind of game that he did last week against the Ravens, I think he's got a shot to win another game, and I think he's certainly got a shot to make the playoffs. So give me the Rams. Up next, the Cowboys heading to Buffalo, taking on the Bills. This should be a tougher game, I think, for the Cowboys. Seth is taking the Cowboys. It's going to be in the elements. It's obviously going to be freezing cold in Buffalo early December. It's not a place you want to play at this time of the year. Certainly not, near the evening. I believe that's the 4 o'clock game. So I still will take the Cowboys. Right now, they're just playing too good to ignore it. And they've just come off of, the blowout win to the Eagles. I think they're feeling really good. Bills on offense have a trouble figuring it out. And I think that Cowboys defense is going to take advantage of it. So give me dem boys to win that game. Up next, Sunday Night Football. Ravens visiting the Jaguars. Seth is taking the Birds. And I will agree. I mean, Lamar, again, he's trying to prove himself. I know it's not going to be an easy game, but it's not really like an elements game. You're going down to Jacksonville. It's still pretty warm down there, even at Sunday night. Duval's not an easy place to play. I don't know what's up with that Jags defense, and I think if that Jags defense continues to play the way that it does, I think Lamar's going to have a fun time. I think Lamar, Odell, Zay Flowers, all of them cats, Mark Andrews is dead. I forgot about that. All of them cats are going to have a good time. So, not the Jaguars, not those cats. The cats in the figurative way. So, yeah, give me the Birds. And finally, Monday Night Football, the Battle of the Birds. The Eagles versus the Seahawks. Seth is taking the Eagles. I am going to steer away from the beaten path. I'm going to take the Seahawks. I think this is going to be a tougher game. On the road, Seattle, it's not going to be warm in that region of the country. Not going to be fun weather, and back-to-back blowout losses is concerning for me. I believe Geno will be playing. I don't think he's hurt still. No, he's good. Geno's playing. And I don't know. I think the Seahawks are certainly playing for the playoffs. Eagles probably feel a little bit more comfortable, but no, I don't know. I got a feeling about this game. I can't really explain it. I just think the Seahawks are going to come away with the win there. So to wrap it up, here we go. Chargers, Raiders. Seth is taking the Chargers. I am taking the Raiders. Vikings, Bengals. We are both taking the Bengals. Steelers, Colts. Seth is taking the Steelers. I am taking the Colts. Broncos, Lions. We are both taking the Lions. Falcons, Panthers. We are both taking the Falcons. Bears, Browns. We are both taking the Browns. Buccaneers, Packers. We are both taking the Packers. Jets, Dolphins. We are both taking the Dolphins. Giants, Saints. We are both taking the Giants. Texans, Titans. Seth is taking the Texans. I am taking the Titans. Chiefs, Patriots. We are both taking the Chiefs. 49ers, Cardinals. We are both taking the 49ers. Commanders, Rams. We are both taking the Rams. Cowboys, Bills. We are both taking the Cowboys. Ravens, Jaguars. We are both taking the Ravens. And finally, Eagles, Seahawks. Seth is taking the Eagles. I am taking the Seahawks. And those are your picks. All right. So that is where we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I will be back on Saturday evening, in theory. Unless something comes up, I might make a post about it. If not, you just won't see that there will be a live stream that day. It's a little bit more difficult to set that up because Saturday evening versus Sunday morning it's not morning. Sunday afternoon is a little bit easier to work with. So yeah, I'm planning on going live that day for the Broncos game. So be sure to be there on Hangout. Hopefully not have a heart attack and or an aneurysm or both. I've never had both before. But either way, we'll be back again next Tuesday to break down whatever goes on in the sports world this week. So appreciate you all for coming out, hanging out. And I will see you all in the next stream. So have a great night, everybody, and take care. See you later.